Good evening and a warm welcome to one and all present here. I am Debulina from Planet Site. We are proud to be a part of this webinar as a digital partner. As you all know, Planet is India's largest live digital CME and doctors-generated medical content platform, which is exclusively free for all the medical practitioners. Our website is www.planet.com, so you all are invited to visit our website. So now, without further delay, I'd like to hand over the session to Dr. Radhakrishnan, sir, who is very renowned personality and president of ICE. Over to you, sir, for your presentation. So please unmute from your end. Yes, please.
Thank you, Debelina. Good evening and welcome all to the college webinars. Today's webinar, we are focusing on one of the areas of our ICA vision, that is teaching and training and quality delivery of anesthesia. Today we will be discussing on methods of teaching, what ought to be, as well as how can we mentor a student, and again, how to bring in leadership qualities in students from a very young age. So they're going to be usually productive to our specialty as well as to everybody around. The moderators and the speakers of the day are well-known, excellent anesthesia educators of the country. The session is moderated by Dr. L.D. Mishra and Dr. Mukul Kapoor. Dr. L.D. Mishra, as you all know, Professor Emeritus of Banaras Hindu University, who is now not with the university, but with another institution, but still he has linking and mooring with the university, who goes over for professorial lectures at least 3-4 times a year, and he is counted on the faculty as an emeritus professor. The next one is Dr. Mukul Kapoor. Mukul Kapoor is a professor of anesthesia, mostly interested in cardiac anesthesia and anesthesia education, and he is the editor of our yearbook of anesthesia. And Mukul is with Max Saget Hospital of Delhi. He is a head. Sorry, he moved on from there. He's not with the Max. He's with a different hospital in the Western Delhi. Yeah, he's with the Amrita Hospital, Faridabad of Haryana. And I request Dr. L.D. Mishra to take over, and he may introduce Dr. Mukul Kapoor in proper. Over to you, Dr. L.D. Dr. L.D. Mishra, please.
Yes. Unmute. Sorry. Professor Radhakrishnan, our ICA president, Muralidhar Kanchi, who is joining us in a few minutes. The other office bearers of ICA, my co-moderator, Professor Kapoor, the two learned speakers, faculty members present with us, the residents, PGs, other friends from the audience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very privileged to be part of this very interesting session today. My good evening to all of you, and I welcome you all to this very interesting session, which is going to be 106th session of the webinar series of ICA. 106 is a great number. The two speakers will be talking about the mostly postgraduate education aspects of anesthesiology. They will be talking mentoring through teaching and training, as well as inculcating leadership quality in our young residents and PGs. So in addition to that, we will be having a brief panel discussion on the other three aspects of our teaching before we complete the session. That will be undergraduate teaching. We can never ever forget undergraduate, because this is where we create interest, awareness among our young medical students. Then Dr. Kapoor will talk briefly about post-PG education, especially super specialty training and teaching. And Dr. Murli will join us. And I have accepted only 3 to 4 or maximum 5 minutes for him. He'll be talking about modular teaching in anesthesiology. So this way we'll be able to complete. And then Dr. Sanish very much wants us to speak something about research in anesthesiology. So I will be talking about the UG teaching. Dr. Kapoor will speak about post-specialty. And then the speakers, if like to speak about, join us about research. Both of them are very learned colleagues. They may speak, please. If time permits, I'll speak a minute about research as well. And that will probably complete our session. So now I invite the first speaker, a very, very learned colleague, a very long associate and friend of mine, Dr. Upadya, who is MD as well as a fellow of Indian College of Anesthesiologists. He is a very senior professor at Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore. He has overall competence and mastery on all aspects of anesthesiology, but he claims to be specialist in the field of obstetric, pediatric, and difficult airway. He has 70 publications, delivered 2 very prestigious orations, Venkatrao and Kelly Jeremy oration, and every speech that he gives, every presentation that he gives is almost like oration for that matter. So he's a great orator, and we'll see him today, his oratory. And I request the speakers to please confine to 25 minutes each, so that we can have time for the panel discussions following that. So over to Dr. Upadhyay, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. I will start sharing the screen. Thank you very much, ICA, and thank you very much, Panditji, Dr. L.D. Mishra, and Dr. Mukul Kapoor. And obviously, my ex-student and ex-colleague, Dr. Sanish, for entrusting this on to me. Mentoring is one of the favorite things which I basically I love the mentoring, because teaching everybody can do, but not mentoring. Therefore, I prefer that every teacher becomes a mentor, and teaching is not so difficult, but mentoring is. And some time ago, Indian Society of Anesthesiologists had plans to start this mentoring program in association with the pharmaceutical company. But for various reasons, it didn't take off. But the issue what we should remember at the outset is mentoring is not just about training and mentoring your own students, your own colleagues, or junior colleagues. It has a wider perspective. We'll see what exactly is mentoring, how we should be going about mentoring the anesthesiologist around us, at least. It has a difficult definition, mentoring, but as I said, it's a longitudinal relationship occurring in academic and professional contexts, with the primary goal of supporting the career and psychosocial development of a mentee through dialogue that aims to increase the self-awareness, insight, and reflection. Ultimately, we have to look at making him a complete man, though not a Raymond man, complete professional at least. And we should also look at the psychosocial development. And then, as I said, as a whole, he has to grow, he or she has to grow as a complete human being. How it can be done? Obviously, it's up to the mentor and the mentee both to inculcate the characters which are needed to grow. What exactly is mentoring? Here, the mentor and the mentee, they work together and they focus on the career and the psychosocial support. Now it's a very competitive world. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Therefore, psychosocial support is very much needed to anyone who is opening their eyes in the professional circuitry. Therefore, it's up to us to provide the psychosocial support. Therefore, every now and then, every second slide, you may see that I talk about the psychosocial support just because when somebody has to grow, they have to be strong. Strong men or the women can actually become very good professionals. What are the tools needed to mentor? We need open discussion. There should be reflection and problem solving. Mentor can help and mentee and mentor can work together to do the problem solving. And then finally, testing of new ideas. The ideas can come from both of them, the mentor or the mentee. When I talk about the mentoring system, it need not be just a dyad where just two people were involved. If the mentee wants different aspects of his or her life to grow, then he can also select multiple mentors. Then it becomes a triad or even bigger. Therefore, basically, the mentor and mentee relationship goes much beyond just the growth in the profession. Effective means of providing personal and professional support, facilitating development and broadening the networks. Unless you broaden the networks, I'm not talking about the social networking, it's, the social media networking. I'm talking about the social networks. When you want to grow, you have to make friends, professional friends and social friends. How a mentoring system can improve all this? What are the features of mentoring? Basically, there are emotions involved. There should be a trust between the mentor and the mentee. When there is no trust, obviously the life cannot go on. The world doesn't move without the trust. Therefore, there has to be trust between the two involved. And there should be engagement. The mentor and the mentee should engage themselves and they should find some time for the discussions, for the progress in the mentoring aspect of their life. They cannot be both busy in their professional life and then they can't find time to interact with each other. It's not done. They should respect each other. There should not be any bullying from the mentor, because whatever the age difference between the mentor and the mentee is, there is a hierarchical system. Therefore, even if the age difference is a couple of years too, then there can be bullying. There could be actually trying to put down the mentee. It should not happen. They should respect each other. Empathy, obviously, when you become a doctor, without empathy, you cannot call yourself a doctor. And as anesthesiologist, obviously, you have to provide absolute tender loving care. Empathy has to be a part of your life. Then why not when it comes to mentoring? Coaching, actually the coaching and the mentoring are, there is overlapping, but when you mentor someone, you have to coach them too in the professional aspect of their growth. They have to discuss the clinical development. Obviously, when we talk about an anesthesia mentoring system, we want the mentee to grow as much as he could in the professional life. And as a mentor, I should be able to teach various aspects of life and profession. There should be quality improvement. Without, maybe we can involve in audits, some of the clinical audits, and then see the areas of, identify the areas of improvement and see how we can improve. Research, anyway, I'm not going to talk about the research much because we are going to discuss that later. Research projects can be taken up and the mentor can even guide in the research projects. Career aspirations, obviously, everybody cannot stagnate in the profession or whichever level they are in. Therefore, career aspirations have to be fueled by the mentor. And as I said earlier, networking opportunities have to be explored and provided to the mentee. And as I said, every second slide will have something to talk about the psychosocial issues. Unless you tackle them, the professional development and the personal development of the mentee will not happen. And please remember that it's not only the mentee who grows, it's actually the mentor as well as the mentee who grow together, academically as well as in the psychosocial aspects or domain of life, all right? If we can answer these questions, what, why, when, and how, I think half of the job is done. Customized training for specific situations and developmental needs have to be taken care of, and provide advice in a situation on what to do, how to do it, and why it is worth doing. Unless everything is clarified, the mentee cannot move forward. Therefore, the mentor has to take care to advise at every step, right? Effective method to transfer the organizational culture. Unless you belong to two different systems, like I sit here in Mangalore and I am mentoring somebody who is in, say, a distant town in Tamil Nadu or Delhi, then maybe I will not be able to transfer the organizational culture. But if I'm training, mentoring somebody who is my junior colleague or my own trainees, postgraduate trainees, obviously one of my primary jobs is to inculcate the organizational culture. KMC is known for something, and that has to be taught to them. Establish the reliable, experienced contact outside of the supervisor. Obviously, if you are not the direct supervisor, like Dr. Sumesh is the head of the department, what perspective he gives to the mentee and what as an ex-HOD or a senior prof in the department I can do is a little different. And it also should develop, we should develop a higher level of proficiency. And skill sets, basically, if it is clinical skill sets, it is best done on a one-to-one transfer. It cannot be through classroom teaching. But the time is quite short. Therefore, the mentee has to learn quickly and effectively, and then develop the knowledge and the skills together. Basically, when the mentor and the mentee sit together, they have to identify the specific knowledge or the skills to be mastered, and then identify the mentor with coaching and knowledge transfer skills. Allow mentor and mentee to develop a relationship over a period of time. Maybe it is 3 years or it is lifelong, right? What are the benefits of mentorship? As I said, both mentee and mentor benefit from the mentorship, basically. And the mentee gets a larger chunk of the benefits, and he can develop into a good leader, and he can learn teamwork, and he can lead a change with or without audits, and support with career planning. And then there is, as I said, personal growth. And the mentor basically gets professional development opportunities, and he can also learn to facilitate a developmental discussion. And there is a satisfaction of supporting colleagues often more junior than themselves. And people of our generation, maybe we had people, role models who we could look up to when we were students or junior faculty, but the mentoring wasn't happening to a large extent. But now I think the times have changed, and we should be mentoring the junior faculty and mentor our trainees. These are the kinds of professional relationships you come across when you are into clinical practice. And the most important of all is the mentorship or mentoring. You can have supervisors who only boss over you, and they may not mentor you much. Coach is the one who trains you in a lot many ways. There is a counselor who teaches and then also counsels you. The psychosocial aspect of your life is taken care of. Advisor will maybe he will help you to grow further and give you advice regarding the opportunities and what else you could achieve in life. And then you also have sponsors. But all this put together, the mentor does. Mentor does everything which all these people can do. Therefore, all of us or each one of us have to become mentors when it comes to postgraduate teaching and when we are in a teaching hospital or in a part of the department. Briefly about who is a mentor. He can be formal or informal. Mentor is often chosen for having more knowledge or experience in the clinical domain than the mentee, and often a role model. And he may share their own experiences or help the mentee reflect on their experiences. He may ask open-ended, closed, or leading questions as part of the dialogue, often gives advice. The primary goal of the relationship is to further the goals of the mentee, but often significant benefits are available for the mentor in terms of their own development. And he may help deal with the past, present, or future situation. And as I said, psychological safety is a core element in the relationship. And when I talk about the psychological safety, it is not psychosocial issues. It's only that there should not be any racism, there should not be any sexism, there should not be any bullying when it comes to the mentor-mentee relationship. And the mentor has to make sure that mentee can open up without any restrictions, without any hesitation to the mentor whenever is needed. That talking to each other should be in a free environment. That is what is the psychological safety, and it has to be a long-term relationship. It doesn't mean that you mentor somebody for 3 years, he or she passes the masters and then runs away and the mentoring stops. It does not. Okay. Coming to specifically mentoring in anesthesia, there are challenges in anesthesia. Basically, it is anesthesia, as you are aware, it's highly stressful situation, managing the high-risk patients in complex work environments. And then you have to indulge yourself in absolutely stressful situations like managing people, managing highly egoistic surgeons or the nurses or the other staff, including your own colleagues. Therefore, the stress levels are always at more than optimum for a anesthesiologist. And this is one of the risk factors for obviously the stress and then burnout, and then maybe the anesthesia consultants may face depression too. And this is where the role of mentoring helps to provide professional support structures, and it increases the ability to deal with these issues. And then again, as I said, networking opportunities and psychosocial support and nurturing. One of the studies which came out of Canada and published in the Canadian Journal of Anesthesia in 2017, 79% of the mentored anesthetic residents reported mentoring was important to success as an anesthetist. And 86% of the respondents reported that they benefited from the mentoring through confidence building, development of clinical and teaching skills, achieving the personal goals as outcomes. Important factors is actually a choice of mentor and matching common interests. But whenever you choose the mentor, make sure that the mentee should make sure, or the institution should make sure that they will select somebody from outside their race. For the Western world, it is very important. For us, we are all one race basically in India, and it should not be much of a problem. But in the Western world, where there are multiple, the people from multiple races, it becomes very difficult, because I, as an Indian, might find myself very comfortable with an Indian mentor, and the others, somebody who comes from the Europe or the Western world, they may not link themselves with our culture. It may lead to clashes, and it may not end well. When you have a mentor and mentee who are not on the same page, becomes very, very difficult to carry on with. Therefore, But again, the fallacy of that is you try to look at somebody who is from your own race, like an Indian selecting an Indian, then the opportunity to grow outside the Indianness is much less when you are not exposed to the outside world or people belonging to the other races. It becomes a little difficult for the person to grow. Therefore, there are two sides to the same coin, and we should be aware that both have positives and negatives. Academic mentoring is absolutely needed. Whenever a junior postgraduate joins the department, you have to handhold them and train them, because it's quite an unfamiliar world to the juniors. Obviously, however much we talk about, anyway, at the end of this session, we are going to discuss about what exactly we should do to lure the undergraduates to our specialty, but still it remains an unfamiliar world, and we should make sure that they train themselves well under us. There is performance demands. You fail a spinal and then the entire world collapses. It's quite possible when you are a junior junior postgraduate, and you have to, as I said, handhold and train them. And then obviously publish or perish. You have to publish as a student, as a faculty, you have to publish to be in the market. Therefore, we have to look at how to train them for publications. And then also most of the universities are ranked based on how much grant they bring in. Therefore, grants too, how to attract grants for your projects. And mentor obviously is a role model, and he has to set achievable goals, and he has to develop strategies for balancing academic, clinical, and personal lives. It's nice to say that you have to compartmentalize your clinical life and personal lives, but there's a need to push the students or junior faculty to learn to compartmentalize their life. Little bit of protection from the mentor side would surely help them to be better human beings in both the places. And then you should, as a mentor, should help in ethical research. And I will not talk about what exactly is ethical research. Obviously, you people know what it is. And these are the things what mentors should do. And these things have been already discussed in different slides at different times. But make sure that you talk to your mentee if you are a mentor, and make sure that you fit into each other, and you can carry on without getting embarrassed, without getting bullied. And the transition to graduate school, and then support you through life changes, encourage you to integrate work and life, help you to solidify your career goals. Obviously, the student may not have much of a career goals, and then you have to define for them, give them the options, and then help them to decide which kind of career path they should be taking. And it goes on. And the most importantly, connect you with the professionals in your field. The mentor should be able to do it. And grant writing and all that, which I have already covered. The ethical implications of mentoring is inadequate psychological safety. I have already covered about that. There should not be any bullying, and you should actually take the either the postgraduate student or your junior faculty along. As I said, even if the colleague is only a year or couple of years younger to you, you still have to treat him like a mentee, and then but still you don't bully him, right? There should be professionalism, and the power imbalance has to be taken care of. And gender-based and cultural differentials should never come on the way when a mentor and the mentee get together. Therefore, whether your mentee is a male or a female, the way you treat them is just the same. The gender biases are basically not there much nowadays. but still make sure that it doesn't creep up anytime. Cultural differentials, obviously in our place, it doesn't matter much whether somebody has a rural background or urban, or somebody comes from north or south. It should not make much of a difference, because it's one world, and we should treat the life such. You ensure that there is diversity, and make sure that all parties enter the relationship voluntarily. Nobody is forced. Even when it comes to the postgraduate trainees, you give them an option to select their mentor. We cannot force them to take up a mentor on the basis of the seniority or on the basis of a person available in the department. It should be voluntary involvement in this. How do you begin the mentorship? I think I will try to finish as early. You have an initial discussion. Once the mentor is selected, or there is no way the mentor selects the mentee has to select the mentor. Once the relationship is established, you have to have an initial discussion about the goals for the mentorship relationship, what you intend to achieve and what areas you will focus on, and if you have a specific aims for the relationship. And you be clear about what you expect of each other, including the time commitment and how you will communicate. Time commitment, as I said earlier, is very important. Nobody can say, I just have a huge list, I cannot communicate. You fix up the time and you stick to it. That is all about being a mentor. And how you will communicate, you can have a video call, you can have just a phone call, you can meet each other if there is no physical distance between the mentor and mentee. Whatever it is, make sure that you communicate in a very congenial environment, and you will, the mentee will be able to open up freely. Okay. The mentor's responsibilities are, as I said, he has to be available. He has to check in frequently and assign dedicated time to developing the mentorship relationship. You say, we will discuss on, we will meet up on Saturdays. So be it. You meet on Saturdays, come what may. Okay. Ensure a safe space for discussions where the mentee knows that what is discussed will be confidential. It's always better that it is one-to-one. It's not in a coffee shop where there are hundreds of people, or it is not a dedicated hospital coffee area where people from other departments also walk in. It should not be such. It should be one-to-one, and then it should be confidential. And preferably, you don't record the conversation, and then make sure that the confidentiality, as I said, is maintained. Learn to do the active listening. We'll talk about active listening a little later. Set the boundaries and make sure that you don't go beyond the boundaries. These are the requirements, and we are going to stick to the requirements. The discussion is also on those requirements. If the mentee believes that you have to advise him on or her on the personal life, yes, fine, you can do it. But that is the boundary which is set in the beginning. Don't exceed. Be non-judgmental and offer honest feedback. You should never be judgmental, and whatever the emotional involvement should not make you say things which are not congenial. And please be non-judgmental. Share your own ideas and experiences, because the person in front of you would not be obviously, wouldn't have seen as many complications you have seen, or you have to teach him what it is. Even the life experiences, it's better that you teach them. Empower the mentee. Obviously, without the empowerment, mentee cannot be talking to you freely. As a mentee, don't be afraid to ask someone if they would consider being your mentor and formalize a relationship even outside of a formal mentorship program. It's solely up to the mentee to decide if the boundaries can go beyond the professional relationship. You may need to find multiple mentors for multiple goals. I have said that earlier. And good mentorship relationships are often mentee driven. Okay, mentee has to be active and he doesn't wait for your mentor to schedule the meetings. Basically, even when I said both the parties involved, mentor and the mentee, they benefit from this relationship, but still mentee takes a larger chunk of benefits out of this relationship. Therefore, make sure that mentee is more active and is a little forceful on what he receives. Make sure the mentoring discussions focus on what you would like to get out of the relationship. As I said, it's already discussed in the beginning, the initial discussion, and the boundaries are set and you get the maximum out of it. Okay. If you want to be called a successful mentor, you have to be approachable, open-minded, and non-judgmental. Ensure discussion of goals and expectations from the beginning. Define guidelines, set level of commitment from both. Set preferred method of communication. We have already discussed all this, therefore I'm just going through them. Align goals and boundaries. Encourage the dialogue. Set tone for open, blameless discussion. Even if something has gone wrong, sour between your relationships, as a mentor, you should swallow it and then carry on, and you make sure that the mentee doesn't feel that guilty and retreats. It should not happen. Mentee should always be able to open and talk to you. Be open and talk to you. Guide mentee to discover the answers rather than providing them. Post-graduation itself is all about self-learning, and why not extend it to mentor and mentee relationships? And most of the issues where the mentor can guide the mentee to find an answer, I think that is a way forward to be a successful mentor. I told you I will talk a little more about active listening, because none of us is basically a listener. We only hear, but we don't listen. And active listening is obviously one of the cornerstones of a very good leader and very good mentor. What are the types of active listening? It can be mirroring, clarifying, summarizing, validating, and empathizing. Anyways, this will be available for you on the YouTube. I think you can go back and check this. Obviously, by all this, you can actually make the mentee very comfortable. Even if the mentee, you think what he said is not always to the liking, your liking, you can still give him an option when you do all this. Active listening is absolutely needed. Yeah, even when you are counseling somebody, you're supposed to listen to them and then give the solutions. You cannot be just brushing them aside. You always believe in what the mentee says. What are the things? These are the things in the inner circle: caring, learning, respect, and integrity you have to have when you are a mentor. And then you have to lead with courage and conviction, be passionate about teaching and learning, build relationships internally and externally, be innovative and entrepreneurial, and then execute on plans. All this as a mentor, you have to make sure that you're adept at this and you will do it. This is what are the stages? Stage 1, 2, and 3. The current picture is basically you have to have the current picture and what is exactly happening to your mentee before you start off mentoring him. And once the stage 1 is passed, you know what is happening, what is needed by the guy. You have to decide what do you want in the mentor and in the mentee. Both of them have to actively be involved in deciding what do you want. And the stage 3, that is how to achieve this. Basically, you have the goals and then how will you plan to achieve. Therefore, you look at when stage 1, you look at the story, then you also look at the newer perspectives, and then there has to be good leverage. When it comes to stage 2, you look at the possibilities and you change the agenda to make sure that he grows, and then the commitment has to come from both of you to take the life forward, and possible actions, the best fit, and then the plan. Once you have a very good plan, which does not fail, both the mentee and the mentor will do well. We just talked about the benefits of being a mentor. There are a lot of benefits. There is a personal satisfaction from supporting mentees. Basically, you feel happy that you have done something good for the next generation. Whatever you have done in your life, even if you are a self-made man, make sure that you share it with someone, and the next generation helps from your is helped from your experience and your expertise. Development of a communication skills, including active listening, you become a better person. And there's an experience of developing trusted relationships in the workplace. If you're a good mentor, and everyone will look up to you to help them to tide over the crisis, help you to help them to succeed. And there is no other better feeling than this in life than helping a suffering soul. Shouldn't say suffering, but the souls. Facilitating another in their self-reflection and development of their ideas. And these are the valuable skills in the medical education, basically, when you become a good mentor. The mentors get the opportunity to reflect on their own practice and career. Somewhere down the line, when the mentee expects you to do something and you haven't been able to do it, you have never done that, then I think it's time for you to go back and reminisce what went wrong with your life or your practices, and then you can also change yourself, you can grow. It distills the lessons that they have learned to support another individual. When I have a mentee with me now, I have learned something from him, something fresh, new from him. I can as well transfer it onto another individual, and then the life for another individual changes. It increases the professional networking and sharing of new ideas, and then it also opens doors for more longer-term collaborations. Can be a stepping stone to other educational leadership positions and career advancement. That is a little too far ahead, but the earlier things, I think it should give you a lot of satisfaction for having been there for somebody else, and you also grow. This is what I have covered till now. You recruit and pair the participants. As I said, the mentee is given the choice to select the mentor, but the other way can be done, but still that relationship may not be that as pure. The commitment may not be as good. Have pairs agree on the goals and the expectations in the beginning, and prepare the mentors and mentees. There has to be training for both. And once the mentor is trained once, I don't think you have to think about training him again, but the mentees have to go through this every time a new mentee is assigned. Keep the participants engaged and networking, and the commitment from both the sides had to be there. Assess and communicate the outcomes every now and then. Then the next cycle begins, right? The challenges I spoke about, the unprecedented stress we all go through at the workplace, and basically because the class of patients has changed. The patients are more demanding, and life expectancy has increased. Therefore, your patient population has got just more older, and then they have more diseases, lifestyle diseases or otherwise. Therefore, it's quite stressful now. It's difficult for individuals to talk openly about their fears, their well-being and their need for emotional support. And then team members less available for open discussion in view of increased clinical and leadership demands. It cannot happen. I should be available at all the times. Concerns about speaking openly, and wonder how it will hit him on a later day. And if the mentor just remembers the negatives, and if it hits the mentee later. Fear of stepping out, that is risking assessment or career progression. If at all the mentor believes that he's not up to it, and then it carries forward, and then the mentee may not be allowed to grow further in his life. How organizations can support the mentorship? For the trainees, make it a part of the learning system. And once that is made to be a part of the learning system, I think it becomes mandatory for everyone to be a mentor and a mentee. For the mentors, as I said, we have to train them, and then access to other professional development opportunities have to be given. And the recognition of mentors' contribution, obviously nowadays, the performance appraisal is a big thing by the HR department, and therefore, if the mentor does well, it has to be seen or shown at the performance appraisal. And there should be protected time to participate. And even if the list runs for longer time, there should be a standby anesthetist who can relieve the mentor. And there can be organizational mentorship awards and support mentors and mentees in goals. I spoke about that in the beginning. There was electronic mentoring, a vision of the eyes, which ISCA had mooted, but unfortunately it did not take off because I think the mentees were, one of the reasons was mentees didn't know who the mentors were. And a mentee coming from the remote place, and if he doesn't know the mentor, then if he doesn't select the right mentor, and everybody wants a couple of known names, I think one of the reasons was that. That's why, even though you say that the mentee has to be able to select the mentor he or she wants, this is a fallacy there. Mentorship by someone who is not a direct colleague can go a long way to help you to grow in life. But mentor should be experienced. He should understand the situation, empathize, and actively listen. And he creates a sense of connection and increases the support. It also helps where existing support is not available much. That's what I said, from a place where there is no medical school, a remote area where the anesthesiologist who is on his own for his clinical work or the clinical struggle, I think the mentor system helps, especially when you develop a long-time relationship. It provides access to new ideas and expertise. Whatever is good, which is practiced in one corner of the country, can be taken over from this side. Social media can be used, but social media, I think, has its own drawbacks. But networking for people who are far off, it's a very good idea. I think it reduces the difference in the hierarchical system. And I think it's one way, it's good that you don't directly see face to face, and the mentee can be more courageous when he communicates. Last couple of slides, and then I will wind up. What are the advantages of virtual mentoring? You can arrange, the meetings can be more flexible, and both mentors and mentees are more comfortable, as I said, talking openly in a one-to-one online interaction, where actually you are not physically together. Participation from the comfort of home, because in contrast to academic and workplace environments, that I think the webinars also have become very successful because of that. You can sit in your house and do this, and you will still have an audience. It removes the hierarchical imbalance in the mind of the mentee. That's what I said. Provides access to mentorship and professional networking opportunities to learners from remote areas and small institutions which don't have permanent faculty. Basically, successful mentorship, it gives you all this, the goal, and there is training, there's motivation, there is advice, then share the success, and there is direction to be given to your life. There's also coaching, and then there is support. All this put together is mentorship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Madhusudan Upadya. Yes, you did justice to the topic given to you. It was a little difficult, as you said yourself. Teaching is easier, mentoring is more difficult. And lastly, as you said, celebrations, as you last spoke about celebration, we must genuinely be happy about the success of the mentee and say congrats, good, thanks. and sometimes
True.
have a small party, tea, coffee, or snacks, or even dinner. That all goes long way into mentoring, being a good mentor. Good, thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir.
More
Thank you, sir.
questions are there, but we will be probably discussing in the end
Sure, sir.
during the panel discussion.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So over to Professor Kapoor, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. After that wonderful talk by Dr. Madhusudan Upadya, we have another talk on leadership. And leadership, I feel, is something which is very important for anesthesiologists, because there's nobody better placed in a hospital to take up the leadership role than the anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist interacts with all types of medical physicians, the surgeons, with everybody, with the staff, and he is the right person placed to take over the leadership role whenever required. And today, I know lots of anesthesiologists who are leading teams across the country. And there's nobody better to talk about it than Dr. Sumesh Rao. Dr. Sumesh Rao is a professor of anesthesiology at Bangalore, that's at the Kapoor Medical College, Bangalore. His primary interests are almost similar to the interests of Dr. Madhusudan Upadhyay, that is airway, obstetrics, pediatrics, and of course, he's very interested in quality in anesthesia. So I think with that interest in quality, I'm sure he can give us a lot of insight into leadership in anesthesia. Over to Dr. Sumesh.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to ICA, especially Dr. BRK and Dr. Sanish for inviting me to speak on a topic that's close to my heart. And thanks again to Dr. Mukul for the kind introduction. So my credentials for this would be, especially being the quality manager and accreditation coordinator for KMC Hospitals, Bangalore. And I've been in anesthesiology for 18 years. And the senior faculty here will agree along with me. At the time I was a student, this was 1980s to 90s. And then 2000 was probably a watershed year. Healthcare before that used to be, whether it is a medical college or a hospital, it used to be run by doctors for doctors, and everyone used to work as a team for the benefit of the patients. After 2000, probably constraints started creeping in, as in every other industry, management and quality issues came up. We started inducting professional managers into hospitals and healthcare. And after that, what has happened is in the last 20 years, managers have bred managers. And now we know that our residents who come out after their masters and they pass into their career, they will be appointed by hospital managers and they will be controlled by professional managers. So that's where we are. There was an interesting recent study from the US where in the last 5 years, the hospital managers, the induction and appointment of hospital managers has gone up about 100-fold, while the appointment of physicians during the same period has gone up only 5-fold. So we know this is healthcare. It is crucial for the welfare of any nation as well as for the best interest, the safety and care of our patients who are closest to our heart. So we all know and we all think that it should still be doctors managing the hospital. But then the accreditation bodies, the qualification bodies have now made it compulsory for those who run hospitals to have some kind of professional management experience. And that is where I think that the younger colleagues should now go into management and gain some insight, gain either a degree or a diploma in hospital management, which will later enable them to become hospital chiefs, medical superintendents, etc. So when we look at leadership in anesthesiology.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think your slides are not moving. Can you move to the slide?
No, I was not. I mean, this one you can see my slide called leadership in anesthesiology. Right?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine,
so until now I was just, sorry. Yeah. So anyways, moving on to the topic itself. So when we look at anesthesiologists as leaders, so the previous speakers have rightly said that we are probably the best people to be hospital managers. This is because we have exposure. We have expertise in managing nearly every kind of patient. We know most of the departments in the hospital. We have interfaced with them, and we are the ones that are OR managers. So that is bred into us, and we can extend our operation skills into the whole hospital. And now anesthesiology or management, it's not just a one-man job. It takes a team to build Rome. And theories of leadership are evolving rather rapidly now, especially in healthcare. So we know that in the background of this slide, I put a triangle. So we once used to have a pyramidal or hierarchical system where you have one leader or head of the hospital, head of the department, head of the unit, and then he has got a whole lot of people below him, and everything gets translated vertically. Orders come down from above and they have to be followed. And feedback used to be difficult. So right now, that's why I have put these into rectangles, and it is on a horizontal pattern. So this is something that again should be close to all our hearts. We should move from a vertical model or a hierarchical model to a horizontal or a lateralized team. So perioperative management, that is how we can make it an effective team work. And the team leader is there only to build, guide, and coordinate the team on how to work best. It's also his role to develop each team member, especially the new ones, onboarding them, making sure of their credentials, and helping them to integrate into the vision of the team and the institution. Ultimately, managers' aim is to focus the vision of the team and the effort of the team to provide consistent, high-quality patient care. So, as I said, there is great interest in medical leadership as well as leadership in anesthesiology. You take a Google Scholar search, and this is in the last 3 years, there are about 21,000 papers.
Sumesh, now the
Yes.
slides aren't moving.
Okay.
We are stuck with the first slide. And can you go to full? Yeah. Can you make it a presentation mode?
It is now in the full screen, sir. So can you see the slide?
No, I can see only
The first slide. Okay. I'm sorry. I think I should start sharing again.
Yes.
Sorry
yes,
for
I did.
this.
Yeah.
Now.
No, it's
Still
still in the edit mode.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have to rejoin, or you might
Yes.
have to.
Is it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Oh.
Would things be better now?
No, it's the same.
Just
So in that case, it probably is not from my end. I'll have to be kicked out and then joined again into the team, I suppose.
Yes, you can quickly rejoin after.
Do you have Apple?
So I'll stop sharing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Do you have an Apple top?
No, this is Windows PC.
Maybe Zebulina can help us.
Share your entire screen, sir, not the PPT one.
That's
Yes.
what I have been
Yeah.
doing. So this is actually the screen, right? Yeah. And going into the slideshow mode.
Are you sharing the desktop full?
Mm,
You can
No,
try
I
that.
guess not. Like you can close the PPT, share your entire screen, then open the PPT, sir.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
Successful.
I'm sorry for that. And I really do not know why this had to happen. Anyway.
Okay, okay. Go
So
ahead,
this is
please.
where we were. I mean, lots of studies on management and how to go about it best. And this is from Ed Mariano. He is the head of Stanford University School of Medicine, Department of Anesthesiology. He should be well known to most of us, at least the seniors, because he has been active in a lot of international conferences. He is the editor of a lot of journals. He's on the board of a lot of journals as well. And he's very active on social media. So I put his Twitter handle there as well. It is something that is worth following for the younger people here. So he has said that to be a good medical hospital manager, you obviously first have to start off by being a good doctor. You should establish your own identity and be known to the others in the hospital. You should know the rules of the game. And a good anesthesiologist has to now promote, we were always behind the shadows. The general population does not even know what we actually do. So we have to be the ones to promote and sell our highly qualified service of perioperative medicine. A good manager should always be courageous and bold enough to question the status quo and establish the problems and find out solutions and implement them in the best manner. A good leader would be able to build trust in all the members of the team. He would not take all the recognition for himself. He would celebrate team wins and give recognition where it is owed. And no man is an island, so it is always the team that is more important than any particular individual or even the leader himself. We should all be open to opportunities to broaden our horizon, widen our career, and the growth of the entire team as such. We should volunteer to build expertise where we do not have it. Even if it has to be gratis, even if we have to spend extra time on that, we have to volunteer to learn new things from the experts. We also should know what the upcoming challenges are. The healthcare scenario is changing very rapidly, and it is going on to more of a market-driven model or an insurance-driven model. And if we are not at the table, we would be part of the diet. So we need to know what is going on in healthcare and in hospital management and how our own institution is being managed. So we know our anesthesia roles. How do we expand this expertise to managing a hospital as a whole? There are 4 key areas to think about. So our perioperative care expertise can be extended to operations management across the hospital. We are masters of productivity and cost savings when it comes to drugs and equipment and procedures done on a patient. And half the time, out of sympathy, we even do not bill them entirely for all the things that we do. But this cost-cutting expertise, again, could be extended across the hospital to bring down unnecessary cost, wastage, and to increase the return to the hospital, which obviously is very much on the balance sheet now. We are also experts in post-operative pain relief and patient safety. So we could help the patient experience across the hospital as a whole, decrease the average length of stay, and make the experience more pleasurable to the patients, more hassle-free and pain-free, both for themselves and for their family. We also know the approach to the big picture. So when we step into the OR, we are thinking about everything from, is the first patient here? Is the surgeon here? Is the OT ready? Are all the ancillary staff there? Is there any problems? Yesterday's pre-operative patients are doing fine. Do I have all the drugs? Do I have all the people I need? When do I need to start this case? Is the post-operative ward ready? Is the crash cart in place? So all of that. So our expertise, just like pilots in the cockpit at takeoff and landing, this can be translated to better managing the problems across the entire hospital. Finally, we are also key in patient safety initiatives across any institution, and we are the ones that usually also manage the skills lab, the code blue teams, and we are the experts in crisis resource management and teaching as well to deal with emergencies. So this is already, the qualities of a good mentor has already been talked about this evening. The qualities of a good leader are, as I said, there should be no blame. And as Madhu sir said, there should be a lot of psychosocial support, and there should be no pointing fingers at anyone. And a good leader is always a part of the team, leads from the front. Nobody respects a general who does not actually go to the battlefront. So there should be no leader that does not do anything except, manage. We should always be ready to serve and provide assistance, both to our customers who are the patients or clients, and to our team as well, and to anybody who is employee or staff in the hospital. We should devise and conform our team to meet the goals, to meet the focus, and to meet the vision of the institution. Our tools to do this are our flexibility, efficacy of our communication, and integrative teamwork. Now, communication skills are something that the NMC is now adding on to the medical curriculum. It is something that we have not been taught. It is something that is difficult for us. So conflict avoidance is always the goal, but then we have to, get trained in this, acquire the skills either by experience or training or from our role models. And we have to be able to communicate across the entire spectrum of the hospital team as well as the patient. So the tools that we could use for this is know when to identify a problem, know when we need help and call for help early, just like in anesthetic problems. Designate effective leadership. So no man can do everything alone. In your team, you will have people who are good at some things and can manage things for you, who can do things in your absence, and who you can delegate jobs to, trusting them to do the right thing and produce the results that you want. So you should be able to designate effectively and not keep everything with the leader himself. We should establish role clarity. So everyone should know what their job is and they should be credentialed for it. Especially everyone should know what they have to do and more importantly, what they should not do. A good manager should also be able to distribute the workload. There should be no undue stress on any one team member. The juniors should not feel that they are made to shoulder more of the load, more of the duties, while the seniors get paid more. So it is up to us how we can communicate, how we can manage all this more effectively. The leader should anticipate and plan for the future, know the environment and the challenges, know the risks that are coming up and how to deal with them. He should be able to calculate on his feet and find solutions immediately, implement them as soon as possible using all the available information. He should be able to, so there are 100 problems across the institution. He should be able to allocate his attention wisely and at the critical moment where it is most required. Whenever resources are required to be thrown at a problem to solve it, the manager should be able to find the resources, mobilize them, and again prevent wastage, use them most effectively. And cognitive aids should be used for across the institution for all of this, right from training to motivation of people, and things like checklists, things like posters that tell people what to do and how to do it most effectively and correctly. The anesthesia manager or the hospital manager always has to build a positive working relationship across the hospital. And when the manager is an anesthesiologist, the OR staff is the most crucial. So nobody in the OR wants to be treated as a doctor or a nurse or a cleaner. We all want to be considered as teammates for a focused and effective job of patient care with patient safety. To do this, the leader has to go the extra mile, has to establish open lines of communication, has to actually reach out to others, make an effort to know them, and help improve efficiencies of all the processes. That means that through all this, we have to build relationships with all our fellow personnel, both in the OR and outside of it. And we have to obviously cooperate with all the healthcare providers across the hospital. So how do we develop these relationships? So obviously we need a positive working relationship. And I said at the beginning, I said managers are taking over. They kind of promote a divide and rule policy because there's no unity among doctors as well. But should we see them all as enemies? No. There are people that do well as well. And we should be able to establish rapport with the hospital executives who are most helpful, who do the right thing, or who attempt to help you and who can assist you in mobilizing resources for whatever your patient safety goals are. And we I said we have to be at the dining table or else we'll be part of the meal. So we have to be hospital leaders who have the most influence over deciding the policy of the hospital, over the contracts, over appointments, and over purchase. We can be good managers by maintaining transparency in all our dealings, especially patient care, in the job descriptions, the roles, and guiding faculty in the performance evaluation. So in an ideal situation, it would be a 360-degree evaluation, or it would be a very humane way of testing people and giving them measurable milestones. If they are not up to whatever the expectations are, we should give them up to 3 attempts to correct themselves with training. And if all that does not happen, or in case the institution unfortunately thinks that people need to go, then again the manager has to have a humane way of putting that across and helping the employees that are outboarded. And so tackling human resource issues also is an important skill that we are not taught, but we have to gain to be good managers. And in all our dealings, we have to be clear and honest. So that's what will gain respect and a following for the manager. How do we leverage the resources that are always scarce across the hospital? We should know the resources that we can get as a clinical and professional leader, and we should be able to use these most effectively to help us do our job to the utmost of our ability and to meet the patient need. So we should be able to use support services like credentialing and recruiting of faculty and staff. Quality assurance should be maintained across the hospital in all the processes, and it should be trained and inculcated into all the staff as well. We should improve our own leadership skills by talking to other leaders, coordinating with them, finding out how they do their own processes in their places, attending annual leadership meetings and training programs. So we usually focus on anesthesia, but if we are aiming to be anesthesia managers or hospital managers, we would need to pick up rudiments of economics, marketing, person management, and leadership skills. So we would need to attend both clinical conferences as well as leadership conferences. And finally, we should be, as academic managers, we should be conversant with the latest evidence-based medicine to the latest in management. So we should know and read all the clinical and academic journals. As Dr. Madhusudan mentioned, social media is increasingly in use to disseminate information. So things like Twitter are short and pithy. Recently, an acclaimed author remarked that Twitter seems to be giving him better peer review than the actual reviews of the journals he submits to. So social media is really powerful now, and we should be able to harness it to our own good and to learn new things, to find mentors, and to even employ people that are good for the institution. A leader always needs data, needs information. So knowledge is power, and we should be able to leverage it and use it. We should be able to harness it to find out what is the problem and what could be the probable solution. So leaders know how important data is, and now with electronics, IT support, and all the software that help you to harness data, find out the statistics, create graphs, and create tables to show what is happening where, and decisions can be more knowledgeable out of all this, will be more well received when you back them up with data, when you have graphs and charts to show, and you would be taken more seriously when you put across the information you are trying to convey. Data also helps you benchmark your institution against other facilities, either in the same network or against other hospitals. And you can also pick up the national data and compare your statistics with that to see how your team is actually performing at the end of all your management. The use of data is also very important in banishing complacency. So we should not be thinking that, okay, we are doing great, and then our data shows us something that's different. Or data can also be shown, used to inspire a sense of accomplishment. All right, the benchmark was 10 for this year, and the team attained double that. So as Dr. Mishra said, there should be a party, there should be a recognition for the team members, so that they feel a sense that they have done something great and contributed to the team as well as the institution. Now, patients are our clients or customers. They are the most important part of the hospital. We should always ask for patient feedback and take appropriate action on this data as well. A good manager always inspires the team and creates a positive work culture. Nobody should feel that they're overworked, they're bullied or stressed, or they are given more than they can chew. So the departmental leaders are the most important. They are the figurehead. They drive the tone of the work culture of the department. So the manager's mood, work ethic, and commentary should always be, cheerful, should be on time, on the dot, focused, and should always be inspiring. And we should all attempt to be good to people. Whatever, it doesn't depend on what I am feeling today. When I reach the hospital and when I am interacting with my team, it should always be cheerful and for their good as well. All relationships with other providers and obviously the surgical team members should be positive. Open, honest channels of communication, transparency to be maintained, and handle any problems, any issues. So these happen in a hospital on a daily basis. Handle all of it with tact, with a smile, with patience, and with discernment of what is the right thing to do. And deal with it with minimum fuss. So we already said that we should know what are the resources available to us. We should have no hesitancy in asking for help and extra resources, finding out who in the management, who among the faculty, who among the seniors can help us, and use them to tackle the problem most effectively. Otherwise, being a chief of anesthesia or a chief of the hospital can be isolating. So this is something that we do not want, and we should not have suspicion as well. Is this person in front of me who is trying to interact with me, does he have any selfish interest of his own? Is he trying to take advantage of me? Is he trying to flatter me? So that the high degree of suspicion should not come into the relationship. A good manager should also know the organogram upward as well as downward. Upward for support. So the leaders above you, those are the ones who can mentor you, who can guide you, and who can give you resources for problems. The manager's job, the department head's job is also to place and identify the right unit leaders to get things done correctly. The manager also needs mentors, advisors, and honest, non-judgmental friends to let your hair down, de-stress, and discuss your problems at the end of the day and hash out a solution as a group. Finally, we are also highly stressed. We feel isolated and we feel that there is no one we can talk to about our problems, but we should not carry all of this home. After all, the family is the most important place, and the people there are the ones that will miss us. The hospital will still go on if we are not here tomorrow or next week. So we should be able to leave all this load behind and be able to walk away free at the end of the day and enjoy our personal time at home. So how do we maintain our clinical leadership? It has to be by education as well as regular practice. We have to lead by example, as I said, and lead from the front. So as a chief of anesthesia, especially now administrative work is piling on me. I've got official mails, I've got meetings, I've got documentation. Now CBME has come in, and every day or every week students have to be evaluated. So it becomes very easy to lose sight of the OT itself, to do nothing clinically, no patient care, and spend more time in the office. But this will blunt our edge, and it will, the clinical anesthesia is what we enjoy the most. It is what we took up anesthesiology for. And if we lose that, then it would add to feeling jaded at the end of the day, and it would not be pleasurable. The team also would feel that you're not there for them, you're not working along with them. So you're like more of passing orders at them than actually participating. We should take time out regularly during all this to interface with patients and do cases, even the hard ones. So that's what will keep our expertise going. That's what will help us to identify problems. And that is what will help us to tackle things before they become major and to find solutions easily. How do we benchmark our performance? As everything, leadership as well as the team effort has to be measured and benchmarked against guidelines or standards. So the manager should be able to judge himself against what is going on with other anesthesia providers. So a good method to do this was what has been tried out in some hospitals. I have my own teachers, my own mentors who might be retired now, but then they are experts in their fields. I would call them into my OT to shadow me for 3 days and to look after what I am doing and my entire team is doing. And at the end of 3 days, they would give us a report and they would tell us what they saw actually, what are the good things that we did, and what are the things that could be corrected, what are the problems that have to be solved. So this is one way to benchmark ourselves, and we need to do things on time. The turnaround time should be maintained. At the end of the day, the patient should feel happy and safe, and they should get better. And we obviously, the other day, a patient told me that we are service providers. So we have to accept the truth that right now we are. So we have to keep both our clients as well as our surgeons happy, and we have to provide them the excellent service that they expect from us. Quality as well as management has to lead to constant improvement, and we never reach the ideal. We are always traveling toward it, and the most successful leaders are the ones who always look for ways to improve and implement these methods either clinically or by helping their own team members to evolve, grow, and improve. Improvement starts with the right attitude. As we discussed earlier, the manager has to be careful, empathetic, understanding, honest, truthful, open. He has to be knowledgeable, but he still has to be learning, and he should be able to put all these together and be on the dot to implement improvement. In anesthesia, we should remember that we should be in the business of saying yes. There is nothing called a high risk, so there is an informed risk. So just like that, if we are saying no more often than we say yes, then we will not be getting too far in anesthesia, and we should be able to say yes within parameters, having the best practices in mind, and we should be able to communicate this effectively to the other stakeholders as well. So the topic given to me for the day was, what is the recipe to create new leaders in anesthesiology and new managers from among our anesthesia trainees? So this should be the leadership development pathway that we as seniors have to implement and strive for. So we should identify our emerging managers, the bright minds that are willing to evolve, that see the need for hospital managers coming from a clinical background, who can be strategic, who can evolve their own worldview, and who can implement processes, who can also be transformational. So wherever change is required, wherever a problem is identified, they should be able to lead the change. And obviously they have to be aspiring. So it is easy to come and say that, I'm in OTD today and I've got 3 cases under my list. I will do those 3 cases and I will be happy. I will have my lunch. If a class is scheduled in my name, I will do it and then I will go home. So that is the minimum that we can do to earn or justify our salary. But we should always be aspiring for more of personal growth, our career growth, earning more knowledge. And at the end of the day, we are all teachers as well as managers. So we should be able to convey this to the next generation. So our aim is to, from our young people, we should be able to create that rare breed of anesthesiology leaders who can take over as hospital managers. And we know that this would give the best results for the hospital as a whole and the patient. So we should find anesthesia providers who are clinically excellent. They have the knack of being born leaders, and they have an acumen for business management as well, and they can take up or soak up the lessons from you. A good manager always works to grow the leadership team towards this focus and tries to find budding skills in young members and helps these hone and evolve the management skills. So what job responsibilities do we teach them? As anesthesia leaders, we know that we can expect some of the same job responsibilities from location to location. So whatever we teach them, they can translate it to other hospitals and wherever they go as well. Leaders generally assist in development and review of anesthesia procedures, protocols, and policies in the Department of Anesthesiology. They also contribute to the clinical care environment, and they gain insight and provide feedback on the equipment and logistic issues. Now, these can be translated across the entire hospital. outside, you can spread the same expertise that you gain from anesthesiology to the hospital management. So we are the ones that can most effectively oversee postings, duties, and time off schedules for the staff. So this is one of the biggest headache that any leader or any unit chief or any head of department faces. We are the ones that can best resolve clinical care related issues and concerns. We are the ones that manage post-operative care most effectively and efficiently, and rehabilitate the patients and return them to the best physiological function possible. You will find anesthesiologists participating in most of the hospital committees or boards, so they can also ascend to the management board. We are the ones that interface between our department and all the other ones. We oversee the quality assurance efforts across the hospital, and we also both train others as well as be participating, meeting the accreditation standards from increasingly from the NABH, now in the 5th edition, the NAC for the university if we are a teaching hospital, and the changing NMC guidelines as well. So for all this, they need their standard educational requirements, which would be a master's at the minimum. Now NMC has mandated that a medical superintendent should be a head of department for at least 5 years and should have a diploma or a degree in hospital management. So that has been recently added on, which is why I said a paper signifying that we have got the credentials for management is now becoming essential. So these young leaders should be mentored so that they get the necessary work experience and exposure to prepare for the challenges of leadership of the hospital. They should be guided to gain board certifications in management. Active state licenses have to be maintained wherever they are working. They should have the ACLS, PALS, etc. certification, and that should be maintained current every 2 years. They should have also expertise in quality management and the hospital management degree or diploma. So we need to teach them to see that leadership involves wearing multiple hats and switching roles. We need to be a leader not only clinically but in technical aspects, and we need to model and set the standard for behaviors across the institution. So as Dr. Sachin Jain said in the book, The Skills Doctors and Nurses Need to Be Effective Executives, this was it was an article in the Harvard Business Review recently. So he said the three integral skills that doctors need to be effective executives are operations management and execution, setting and defining strategy for the institution, and effective people leadership. So these are the considerations that aspiring leaders have to imbibe and become experts in. So seeking additional responsibility is critical to success. So there is a career ladder which hospital employees have to ascend until they become a unit chief, then a head of department, then at the clinical side, maybe the hospital managers, the medical superintendent, the CEO, etc. On the academic side, they would become, after the HOD, they would become associate dean, etc. So in all of these, seeking additional responsibility is what would identify you as a leader, make the superiors aware of you, and make them see that you are a candidate that they can promote for leadership and management roles. A manager has to know not only medicine, but has to involve a lot of disciplines, right from economics and marketing, right now digital marketing, and up to human care, that is sociology, philosophy, psychology, behavioral science, etc. You have to manage the team, and the team always consists of real live people who we have not been taught to interact with and look after. So for all of this, we need communication skills expertise, and it has to translate into our management. So these are again from the ASA, which has a very good program to develop anesthesia managers, but unfortunately it is paid. It's a paid program, but we can still read the basics from the ASA website. They have said that they start off by saying that the best leaders understand people and business, maintain fairness, create clear visions, build trust, and communicate effectively. And in the 2014 issue of the ASA newsletter, again, James B. Grant, in an administrative update, stated that physicians need to take greater roles in healthcare leadership I think we all agree with that 110% seeing what's going on now. And this health system reform needs to be led by physicians building common goals and leading teams that effectively move healthcare delivery in the right direction, which should be patient-centered once again, and not centered on fees and what is the money that treatment can bring in. So physician anesthesiologists are best placed for this, as we have established. We are seen as leaders and visionaries who have a keen understanding of the complexities of the hospital care system. With the right combo of personal characteristics, motivation, and education, the future does look bright for and because of my young colleagues and anesthesiologists and pain physicians who will now step up to lead. So this is all the qualities of an effective leader. We have already discussed all of those. So these are the things that we have in mind. And with this, I will conclude. Sorry for the hiccup initially. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sumesh. It was a very in-depth talk on leadership and how to cultivate leadership. You said a very interesting line. You said that we are service providers. Yes, we are service providers. There's no doubt about it. But that does not mean a service provider cannot be a leader. If you see, the Indian Army has always had a person from the infantry or the armored corps as the chief. But this is the first time that they put an engineer as the chief of army staff. Similarly, if you compare it with cricket, it is not that Sachin Tendulkar or Vikas Kohli, who are batsmen, who are like surgeons in us, who get all the glory. At times, Ashwini wins the match for us. So service providers are probably better leaders than the people who the outside world thinks as the captain. I think we have overshot dramatically. I would like to hand over to Sanish. Maybe Sanish, what do you feel about it? How do we continue? Or, Dr. Mishra, are you wanting to say something?
Yeah, Dr. Sanish, how do we proceed further? Because already time appears over. You like us to summarize something or what? Sanish is there? Sanish? Okay, Sanish wanted me to summarize. Dr. Mukul, would you like to summarize give some few tips in very simple words about leadership? And I do that for the mentoring, for that matter, to just complete. And if Sanish wants us, then only we'll go for UGT and post PG. Meanwhile, Dr. His name here, Dr. Our dean, what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. He's already waiting to talk about modular teaching, you know.
So I'll summarize in 2-3 lines. I would not try to.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please.
What Dr. Sumesh has very rightly pointed out, that to become a leader, you have to be trained to be a leader. You have to understand what are the various ladders to climb for becoming a leader. What are the various things we have to learn to become a leader? You have to know about lots of things. You have to know a lot about interaction with other people, with other clinicians, etc. So all this together makes you a leader. You do not become a leader just because you're very mouthy, or maybe you shout a lot. That's not the way to leadership. The leadership is shown by example. And what he was trying to say, that you have to lead by example. That is, I think that is the most important thing in today's talk. Dr. Mishra, would you like to say?
Yes, that is how it is said. Lead the leader. First watch the leader, how he does it, and support him, be integral part of his team, and slowly you also learn how to lead. Coming to mentorship, actually mentorship and leadership are very, very interchangeable many times. You can be good leader only if you are a good mentor. Otherwise, rather you can be a good mentor if your mentee sees you doing your job well and having capability of leading him at various phases of mentorship. So this is quite intriguing to differentiate so much. I need not to differentiate so much. What is very important to follow is that we should do our job very meticulously. Clinical scenarios, complex patient scenarios, we should do it well and prove ourselves to be a multi-specialty expert and with a global reach in hospital management, all aspects of hospital management, perioperative, as well as the out of operating room, critical care, pain and all. And then we should also establish ourselves as a good academician, a good researcher, and good research-based accreditation is always accepted by most, including your mentees for that matter. So if you do all that, I think, this is time we should project. There's no time to remain back as our forefathers used to be. This is time we should be in the forefront. We should be seen doing, we should be seen teaching, we should be seen researching and doing it meticulously to prove in all aspects of our day-to-day life, including leadership as well as mentorship. And that is what we have to inculcate into our students and junior staff, junior colleagues. I think we'll close these 2 sessions now. What about Sanish? Sanish, do I speak about UGT? You want me to?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
You want me?
Yes, sir.
Well, 2.5 minutes me and 2.5 minutes Dr. Mukul we will be talking about. We don't want everybody's time now. And we will give only 2.5 minutes to Dr. Our Dean also. I'm forgetting his name.
Dr. Muralidhar.
Muralidhar, please listen. You have only 2.5 minutes. And Mukul, you also have 2.5 minutes. And I take 2.5 minutes from now onwards about UGT so that we complete our about our goals that we were given to. Actually, see, UGT is so important because very few students join anesthesiology and all graduate as medical graduates. They go in different field of medical practice. And if they are taught well, they become our ambassadors and they know what we do and they appreciate our work. And therefrom, we learn the habit of leading the masses. So coming to how we can do, we need to have motivated teachers. Very few teachers like to teach to undergraduates. I'm sorry to say, because I have managed undergraduate teaching in my institute for many, many years. Even now in this private college, I'm doing that, even though I have a couple of colleagues who sometimes take classes when I insist on, and I like to take few classes myself as well. So there has to be a habit of teaching to undergraduates and brought into a regular curriculum of every teaching department. And the first lecture about wider perspective of anesthesiology, including perioperative pain and critical medicine, including the trauma, our role in trauma and emergencies, our role in resuscitation as leader, our role in complex hospital situations. That all should be operating room situations. That all should be informed to undergraduate as first informative lecture about the specialty, introducing wider perspective of research. This is what the curriculum has come without a lot of effort of ours. And then the further lecture should be taken to complete the subject. The curriculum is given by the National Medical Council, which is fairly good. There was not much description in earlier curriculum. Now it is widely described, fairly well described. And fortunately, it starts from the foundation course itself. So take time to teach to first year, first week, you should take time to teach them the basic life support. That is the first thing that we have to teach, and the first aid, that is the second. We have 2 lectures in foundation course that must always be religiously done by good teachers of our respective departments. Then we have to indeed make these students aware. Why? Because then they only become aware and trained doctors. That is what our country needs. More importantly, we need to have aware and motivated PGs who come to us taking anesthesiology as a choice, not that they are compelled to come and then only they come. Then we have to, in fact, what we should do, we have to, how we can go about this. First and foremost, I will repeat again, each of us must vote today that we have to take time to teach our undergraduates. That's first, and every teacher must be motivated and activated in this respect. Second thing we have to do is little bit changes is required in an NMC because few things have been left over that we can work through the ISA. And thirdly, we have to ensure that anesthesiology becomes an examining subject. Certain marks allotted to anesthesiology, like 30 marks allotted in orthopedics, in theory and practical, 30 out of 150 in surgery, theory and 150 practical. So we can have 10 marks. if not more, at least some marks. That will give some credibility and some reason for undergraduates to read seriously our subject. And we should also be part of examining team of MBBS final year, maybe not one of the 4, maybe one of the 5. One of the professors of anesthesiology should be at least testing these students, the clinical skill and the practical aspects. Then lastly, what we have to do is that we have to prove that, yes, specialty is doing well and there is much more to be done. And there is a future role for anesthesiologists as they are becoming going to be leaders. They are already leaders. They need to be leaders. There is a very good career opportunities in anesthesiology, and career counseling should also be done at some level to these undergraduates about the aspects in anesthesiology and the hospital management, college management, university management. Many of us are doing that very well, very competently. Thank you so much. I think I completed within 3 minutes. Mukul, over to you.
Thank you, sir. I've been asked to talk a little bit what about people who do post-graduation, how they should go beyond that. So there's a lot of clamor for DM seats, for seats in subspecialties of anesthesiology. A lot of clamor, a lot of effort is going into this. Lots of students are aiming for this. But I would like to inform everybody, please, before you go into a subspecialty, see for employment opportunities in that subspecialty. Do not walk into a subspecialty without, firstly, a passion for that subspecialty, without a employability after you get into the subspecialty. I know and I've seen lots of candidates who have done cardiac anesthesia, DM, but today they are practicing infertility, they're practicing obstetric anesthesia, they're practicing everything. Not because of anything else, but because of the fact that employment opportunities are very, very limited. So do not jump into the thing of taking onco, chronic pain, or critical care, or whatever, unless you are sure of an employability into this. There is a growing demand for starting some specialty education in almost anything under the sun. I would say that it is possibly doing a disservice to the nation. The nation is having a shortage of anesthesiologists, and you are blocking those people by putting them under training for 2 to 3 more years and blocking them from earning money and doing service to the nation with that period. Yes, if you have a passion, definitely go in for a subspecialty. There's no point in just doing general anesthesia, but remember, there are lots of opportunities: transplant anesthesia, onco anesthesia, cardiac anesthesia, neuroanesthesia, pain, obstetric anesthesia, and pediatric anesthesia. These are already opportunities which are already there. There are others which are coming, like palliative care. I don't know if there is going to be an end to this. Tomorrow, somebody might bring out a specialty of ophthalmic anesthesia also. Already, some people only practice ophthalmic anesthesia. But remember this thing: do not go or do not dream only of getting degrees. Be practical, learn good techniques, learn good anesthesia, practice good anesthesia, develop your capabilities in practicing the correct amount of anesthesia, be a master of your technique rather than be a master of a degree. Because achieving a degree does not get you much. It is the clinical practice which gets you there. Thank you very much. Dr. Mulidhar.
Thank you so much for having me in this meeting. Lovely meeting. A lot of important conversations have taken place and a lot of important points have been brought out. In the next 2.5 minutes, as stated by Dr. L.D. Mishra, I would like to propose that we have been talking about this modular training program for the last 1 year or so. Dr. Anita Malik is there. Actually, it was her idea which we developed. And we know that when we give the postgraduate degree to a candidate, we are looking into the development of the candidate with cognitive skills, psychomotor skills, behavioral skills, and he has done a research in the form of a thesis, and he or she has maintained a logbook which will be evaluated at the end, and the final nail in the, I will not say coffin, sorry. Final, this one is the final examination which culminates into certification. So these are the 6 components we have divided. As far as the cognitive skills, what we have done is that we have divided the curriculum into 9 modules in a 3-year course, 9 modules. Each module is for 2 months. The candidate is given the specific topics for that module. And usually the training program, especially in terms of academic sessions, will hover over those subjects. And at the end of 45th day, he or she is asked to write an assignment on some of the selected topics in that module. And at the end of the 60th day, there will be a short test, maybe for half an hour or 1 hour, depending upon the time availability. And these 9 modules are repeated for a second time during a 3-year course. This is what we have proposed. And it looks good to me because there is a, as mentee-mentor relationship can be developed within the organization. There's a constant interaction between the trainee and the trainer. And also there is some amount of reading happening on a regular basis. That is the biggest problem I face. All these students come to me before the examination, ask for study leave 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And it is difficult to give leave to all of them at the same point of time. So if they are reading regularly on a daily basis for some allotment of daily time, should make it easier for them to take the final examination. With this concept, we have developed this module, and it is being considered for publication. And I think I have sent this soft copy to Dr. L.D. Mishra, and I would like all of you to have a look at it. And any suggestions for improvement will be welcome. Dr. Anita Malik is there. Do you want to say anything, madam? Yes, yes.
Yes. No, you described it very well, and the 2 topics which were dealt today, they in themselves, they are so vast, and they are linked together, and they've been presented in such a depth. You know, there's so many things which, you know, I want to recollect. Oh, yes, this also affects, this also goes like this. Yes, definitely. But we should do something for our postgraduates, as Dr. Mishra has also said. Dr. Mukul is already into medical education so much. And we definitely, it's been such a long time, and it's not much to talk about. But yes, with modular, with assessment, we want to emphasize more on completing the different systems, modules, and then subjecting the PGs to assessment, which is very important. And uniformity is very much required.
Absolutely.
So that's just want to say, I mean, it's really difficult to achieve, but now ICA has taken over this thing, so maybe we should hope for the best for our good PGs.
Thank you. That's it, Dr. Mishra. That's what.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Muralidhar and Madam Anita Malik. Indeed, modular teaching is the need of the hour about in postgraduate curriculum, especially because the assessment has become very unpredictable and very different, very variable, and this will definitely bring assessment to uniformity. Thank you so much, everyone. Dr. Murli, you are supposed to pass word of thanks, please, now.
Yes, yes, that's a very pleasant duty. I would like to thank the leadership of ICA for having arranged this wonderful meeting, which looks into the educational aspects of anesthesiology. Very important. We don't have uniformity all through the nation. So if we could get some uniformity, it will be better. And also we spoke about the mentor-mentee relationship, the psychosocial support the mentee requires is very well highlighted by Dr. Madhusudana. Thank you so much, Dr. Madhusudana, for your excellent excellent talk, excellent deliberations on this subject. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank Dr. Sumesh Rao as well. He told us about the qualities of a good leader, how leaders should lead from front, and there is no blame game, and the importance of data management, positive work culture, etc. So many important things were highlighted, and thank you so much, Sumesh, for highlighting these things. And I would also like to thank Dr. L.D. Mishra and Mukul Kapoor for having been with us and leading the discussion and giving their viewpoint. Very well done. Thank you so much. And Dr. Anita, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Radhakrishnan, and all the other leaders in ICA, Dr. Jayashree Sood, Dr. Baljit, Dr. Manorama Mittal, Dr. Bimla Sharma, etc. And I'm really grateful, and I'm sure that with this seminar, we have gone one step ahead, and we are looking into the educational aspects with a deeper sense, and we would greatly benefit from this session. Thank you so much, and you're all welcome for a virtual dinner.
Thank you.
Virtual
Thank you so
dinner
much.
is
Thank you.
awaiting you. It's very hot and inviting. Thank you so much. We'll meet you again next week. Thank you.
Sanish, should I say goodbye?
Thank you.
Yes, good night, sir.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank
Good
you
night.
Thank you very
so
much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, good night, guys.
Good night, sir.
The food will come through Swiggy, is it? Or Zomato? Zomato is sinking. Swiggy is okay. Where is Kanchi gone? Where is Kanchi gone? Disappeared. Okay, right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, okay.
Thank you very much. Pandit
Thank
ji,
you very
good night.
Thank you.
Mukul ji, good night.
Night,
Tanish,
sir.
bye.
Bye.
Sumesh, bye.
Thank you very much.
See you. We'll wind up.
Thank you so much all. So we are closing here. Thank you.
Yep.